Hi, welcome to today's interest meeting for the 2025 ASPPH Public Health Innovation Lab. I'm so excited to have folks joining us and also want to acknowledge that there are a lot of folks registered who may not be able to physically be on today's webinar. So we are recording this so that folks can join us by watching virtually after the session today. We also may have some folks who are popping in late and we'll welcome them to join as well. So just want to say thanks for being here. First of all, I'm so excited that you are potentially interested in ASPPH's Public Health Innovation Lab. I'd love to start by just giving you a little sense of what today's interest meeting is going to look like. We'll do some quick welcome and introductions, really just of myself and of ASPPH. You'll hear from our representative from ASPPH momentarily. We'll talk about what human-centered design is, and then specifically how that will play a role in the Innovation Lab and provide an overview of the Innovation Lab as a whole, so you can hear what to expect if you're selected to participate, as well as get all of your questions answered. So to start, I'd love to focus on the welcome and introductions and specifically to address what ASPPH is for those of you who may not be familiar. I'd love to turn it over to my colleague, Tracy, Senior Director of Educational Pathways and Undergraduate Education at ASPPH. Take it away, Tracy.
Hi, thanks for joining us today. We're really excited to be having the second annual Public Health Innovation Lab. So ASPPH is the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health, and we represent CEF accredited schools and programs, graduates and undergraduates. So this program is really an opportunity for students to get engaged and learn about innovation and figure out how we're going to solve public health problems. So thanks for coming. Look forward to hearing more from you.
Thanks so much, Tracy. And for those who don't know me, my name is Sarah Axelson. I am an innovation consultant for ASPPH with over a decade of experience in public health innovation, probably closer to 2 at this point. I've directed over $10 million in federal grants to catalyze innovation using human-centered design. And if you don't know what that term is, don't worry, we'll cover that momentarily. I've also led multiple accelerator programs in HCD, including working with world-renowned design firms IDEO and receiving training at the Stanford D School. And outside of my full-time work and my consultant work with ASPPH, I also teach at George Washington University, including an undergraduate course in design thinking in public health. So really excited to be with you all both today and for the Innovation Lab as a whole. So next, I'd love to spend a little bit of time talking about what human-centered design is. And I know that it may seem strange to talk about this context before we talk about the lab as a whole, but this is important to understand sort of what this is and how it works in the real world to then understand what it will look like during implementation of ASPPH's Innovation Lab. So typically I'll ask people just to think to themselves, what comes to mind when you think of innovation? Oftentimes it's this concept that we have to come up with a brand new idea. We have to create something out of thin air, be so inspired that we're going to think of something that no other human being has ever thought of. We also often see people thinking about a new process, developing something new, being creative, and all of those things playing a part in what innovation is and what it means to them. As a result of how we think about innovation or how organizations often think about innovation, we've created this situation where we build things by defining what they are first. So for example, we create a program, we define that program, then we build that program, we release it into the world, and we hope that it has value that for the people that we created it for, because we defined it and we built it, and now we're sharing it with them and thinking, oh, I really hope they like it. And one of the challenges with this approach is that it increases our risk because we spend a lot of time, effort, and resources putting something together that we don't know if it will deliver value for the people that we are creating it for. But there is a way to do things differently. And that is through human-centered design. So I'm going to play a little video to get us started as we talk about human-centered design. The sound should be on. And Tracy, if you don't mind coming off, excuse me, on video for just a second and give me a quick thumbs up to let me know if you can hear the sound once we get started, that would be great. There is background music in this video, but hopefully you can hear the sound over it. The settings on that, the way that they created the video are a little bit connected with the music and the sound. But let's learn about what is human-centered design.
Human-centered design is a creative approach to problem solving, one that starts with people and ends with innovative solutions tailored to meet their needs. When you understand the people you're trying to reach and then design from their perspective, not only will you arrive at unexpected answers, but you'll come up with ideas that they'll embrace. Human-centered design is both how you think and what you do with it. It's a process that consists of 3 phases: inspiration, ideation, and implementation. The inspiration phase is about learning on the fly, opening yourself up to creative possibilities, and trusting that as long as you remain grounded in the desires of the people you're designing for, your ideas will evolve into the right solution. In the ideation phase, you come up with lots of ideas. Some too crazy to work, some too crazy not to try, and you'll refine them, tossing out the bad and improving the good. Making things helps you learn, grow, and test your ideas. Building a simple prototype gets your idea tangible and gives you something to put right back into the hands of the folks you're designing for. Without their input, you won't know if your solution is on target or how to evolve your idea. Keep iterating, testing, and integrating feedback until you've got everything just right. During the implementation phase, you'll build partnerships, shore up your business model, and get your idea out into the world, which was always the goal in the first place. Anyone can practice human-centered design, and everyone benefits because it gets us all to solutions that are adopted and embraced.
So one of the things that I like about this particular
Human-centered
video,
design is a
sorry about
creative
that,
approach to problems.
Is that it talks about human-centered design as both a way of thinking and a way of doing something with your way of thinking. So one of the ways that I talk about human-centered design first is that it is a process for innovation. You heard that in the video. You heard them talk about 3 different phases in this process: inspiration, ideation, and execution. So the idea that you go out, you explore a problem or an issue, and you really synthesize the learning that you've done around that problem, specifically with people who have lived experience in what you're trying to solve for. Then you come up with a lot of potential solutions. You'll ideate, you'll think about all the ways that that problem could be solved, and then you'll evaluate all of those different ideas, and that will bring you towards your final solution that you'll create and develop, put out into the world, but not specifically be done with it, because in human-centered design, there's always ways to evolve and improve, get more feedback from our users, and even iterate on the thing that we've created. So human-centered design is a process. It's also a set of tools for working within these phases. So there are different strategies and approaches to even the inspiration phase, the ideation phase. And so there's these strategies that you can learn in terms of being able to implement the process of human-centered design. It's also a way of just thinking differently about our work. This slide has what we call the design mindsets, and it's really 7 concepts that we as human-centered designers really embrace and hold on to in our work, and really that drives our approach to what we do. So this idea that we can gain radical empathy for people experiencing, specific challenges or problems that we are interested in working with, not for, but with. Radical optimism as well, the idea that problems have solutions, we just have to find them. And maybe we haven't yet, but there is a way to solve some of these big scale issues that we're facing. And so we're optimistic about being able to do so. Embracing ambiguity is the idea that sometimes we don't know what the solution is going to be, and sometimes we're sitting in a space that feels very gray, very messy, very unclear. And if we continue to just navigate that ambiguity and be comfortable with it, we'll come out on the other side with a solution. In human-centered design, we always make things and we specifically get those into the hands of our end users as quickly as we possibly can. We learn from failures. We see those not as a setback, but as an opportunity to try something different. And specifically, that comes up in this concept of iterating, iterate, iterate, iterate. We are always revamping, strengthening, changing, updating something that we're developing based on feedback from the people whose hands we've put it in to have them tell us what they think. And lastly, creative confidence, this idea that all of us can be creative. Creativity is like a muscle, and the more that we exercise it, the more we'll become confident in our ability to be creative and to do work like this work that we do in human-centered design. So when we use human-centered designs in public health and in the world more broadly, we end up actually building in these really small bursts rather than defining, building, and releasing and crossing our fingers that folks are going to like it. We do little tiny bursts of defining, building, and releasing so that we can rapidly get feedback and iterate for the next release of the product or the service or whatever it is. And over time, this decreases our risk in designing either a program or a service or a product because we've gotten feedback all along the way from the people that we're designing with. And so it's just a different way of doing things that can have a lot of value in our space. Specifically because it really sits at that intersection of what is desirable to people, what is feasible in the world, and what is viable from sort of an implementation perspective, if you will. And human-centered design has been used across fields to develop all kinds of products and services, some of which you might be very familiar with. Human-centered design was used in the development of Airbnb, which of course looks very different now, but here you can see some of the original layouts as they developed Airbnb and the concept and tested it with end users. Things like Uber Eats that we all use frequently, and that was developed specifically with feedback from end users all along the way. This is the picture of some accessible voting machines that were developed in partnership with IDEO, the design firm that I mentioned earlier, specifically to support folks with a wide range of differing abilities around voting, including different abilities related to physical functioning, sight, hearing, sort of processing information, all of those different things. Human-centered design was used to develop Willow, the world's first wearable breast pump, and PillPack, which is a prescription home delivery service that was then purchased by Amazon and has now become part of Amazon Pharmacy. This is an example from some of the work that I've done specifically in sexual and reproductive health. Human-centered design was used to create an app called OK So, which is an app that allows young people to send anonymous questions to groups of experts in sexual and reproductive health and to have their questions answered anonymously, as I said, so that they can get the information that they need if they're not getting it in their schools or other places. This app has already answered over 20,000 questions from young people across the United States and been featured in the App Store twice, developed using human-centered design. And then the last example here is Bedsider, which is an online birth control support network run by Power to Decide. And certainly it's much more than this sort of picture you see of a method explorer here, but this is the tool that was, again, developed using this human-centered design process. So HCD is an amazing tool, really incredible for helping us get to innovative solutions for public health challenges and challenges more broadly, but it is not without its flaws. So one thing to know is that human-centered design can take months or even a year to do sort of a full cycle and to do it well. And it really requires a lot of time from a team of committed individuals. And of course, a significant amount, investment of resources as well to support all of that time and work. So rather than doing this entire long process, we can do what's called a design sprint And this is where the ASPPH Innovation Lab comes in. This lab is a facilitated design sprint. And what that means is that in just 5 days, teams that are participating will go from problem to proposed solution, and they'll learn tools from human-centered design along the way. So we're going to talk about what to expect for those who apply and are selected to participate in the Innovation Lab. Right now, you all are attending or perhaps watching the recording of this interest meeting. So you're hearing everything you need to know about the Innovation Lab and getting all of your questions answered, which we'll do in just a bit. Your next step, if you want to participate, is to identify a team of 3, including yourself, undergraduate and/or graduate students who are based in DC and can attend the lab. And we do recommend that folks on the team have a diversity of skill sets and expertise as part of your group. The team will then apply for the Innovation Lab through the ASPPH Innovation Lab website. There you can find all of the application questions ahead of time and gather your application information before you submit. And then if you're selected to participate, teams will attend the in-person lab, which is held March 16th through the 21st in Washington, DC. And in that 6-day period, and it's 6 days because on the 6th day you're pitching your idea, you will select a problem to tackle. You'll receive coaching and guidance from skilled HCD experts and facilitators, and you'll apply what you learn to your team's innovation challenge. And then, as I mentioned, on that last day, as part of the ASPPH conference, you will pitch your idea to a panel of judges as part of ASPPH's event. Don't be worried if you've never pitched before or the idea of pitching sounds intimidating to you or to your team members. We will give you lots of support and guidance and practice around pitching as part of the lab, and we'll also give you a template that will really help you sort of step by step put your pitch together. We're going to talk specifically now about this lab session, so these 6 days that you will be with us in person. And here's what that looks like. On Sunday the 16th, this is a full day, and you're focusing on mapping the problem and coming up with solutions. Monday through Thursday, you're spending just a chunk of the afternoon with us from about 3 to 6. I believe we landed on Tracy, and we can verify that. But there you're going to go through a specific session on each afternoon, creating a realistic prototype, testing your solution, telling your story, and then practicing your pitch on Thursday. And the final pitches will happen on Friday morning, as I mentioned, as part of the ASPPH annual conference. So the entire full schedule with exact timing is also available on the ASPPH website. We are going to ask teams that are participating to focus on an issue as it is experienced by young adults. And specifically, the reason that we're doing that is because on Tuesday, you're going to test your solution with end users that you recruit. And we want to make identifying and recruiting those end users as easy as possible so that you can focus on all of the other activities that you're doing in the sprint. If you selected a problem that was incredibly difficult or on a larger scale than just a university, for example. Let's say you selected, I don't know, water safety internationally. You likely would not be able to recruit end users who are having issues with water safety by, Tuesday of this lab. But if you focus on something related to the students around you, the college environment, the university environment, that's going to allow you to connect easily with folks for whom that challenge is a real thing going on in their lives. There are some examples here of topics that were selected by students in the 2024 Innovation Lab. They looked at food insecurity, food affordability, mental health, social media use, sexual and reproductive health care access, and more. So if this is helpful just around getting your brain thinking about what you might want to work on, I hope that this might be useful for that. And if you're wondering exactly what that is going to look like, here is the sort of process for that. So step one is, again, learn the approach together in the in-person lab. That's where you'll be gaining skills and expertise in human-centered design. You'll work directly with your team with support from a coach to apply that approach to your selected challenge. So for example, I will teach you a particular tool or strategy like an end user interview for human-centered design, and then you will apply that to what you're working on. So if what you're working on is food insecurity, you would then do an end user interview with someone experiencing food insecurity in the university environment, just as an example. By the end of the 5 days, we hope and know from last year that everyone will finish the lab able to list and describe the basic tools and strategies within human-centered design, to utilize human-centered design to evaluate a complex and persistent public health problem, and develop an innovative solution that prioritizes end user feedback, identify opportunities to leverage technology for public health solutions, and create and deliver a compelling pitch through visual communication and storytelling. So given all of this, why should you participate in the Innovation Lab? This is a commitment of your time, your energy. What is in it for you? And so first, you get to hang out with some amazing people. I'm totally biased, but you will be there with me as well as with other staff from ASPPH and other amazing students who are interested in innovation in this space. And being able to spend dedicated time with them, hear from them, learn with them, interact with them is really a gift. Specifically, though, here are the other things that you will get. So in addition to expert training in human-centered design, the winning team will receive $1,500, $500 per team member on a 3-person team. They'll be highlighted in ASPPH's social media and their Friday letter, which goes out to public health education folks from around the country. And then all team members who participate in the lab will receive a certificate of completion, which is an excellent addition to any career portfolio, a great thing to put on your resume, snacks and beverages, of course, during the in-person sessions, and the opportunity to develop and pitch an innovative idea in front of public health leaders. If you're interested in applying for the lab, here are your next steps. So first, I would recommend that you identify a 3-person team, and remember, diverse perspectives are encouraged. So you absolutely can have students outside of public health if they are interested in working on a public health problem and developing a public health related innovation. They can also be graduate or undergraduate students or a combination of both. Next, review the application questions on the Innovation Lab website and go ahead and gather the information that you'll need to complete your application. All of that is available on the site for you so that you can pull it all together ahead of time. Then use that information to craft and submit your application and wait to hear back from ASPPH. Start thinking in the meantime about a public health challenge that is experienced by college students that your team might want to work on in the lab. And again, remember, you're going to need to recruit and talk to real end users who are experiencing that challenge. So I do recommend that you choose a challenge with that in mind. And lastly, just get excited about the lab. The way that this is structured, you have a lot of time to think about this leading up to the lab, and then the time-intensive lab in March really gives you the opportunity to dig in. So these are the things that you should be focused on right now, but you will have a break while you wait to hear back from us, and then you'll be together if selected in March for the lab itself. So I'd love to pause now and just open it up to questions. I'm gonna just check in with folks and see if there's anything coming to mind. You are welcome to drop it in the chat or to come off mute if you have a question that you'd like to share verbally. So I'd love to answer any questions that folks have about the lab, about human-centered design, or about ASPPH.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Alexis. How are you?
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Okay. I could turn it up a little bit. Okay. I am well. So pretty much what I'm planning to do for my dissertation is using human-centered design.
Awesome.
So I was really excited when I saw this, and Coincidentally, what I'm trying to do is kind of a chat bot, kind of like what you're doing with Okay So,
Uh-huh.
but for affirmative health for LGBTQ plus youth.
I love
So,
that.
or emerging adults, or so pretty much. But so what I want to know is how related is human-centered design to, let's say, community-based participatory research? Because they do some of the same things, but it
Yes.
seems like this one has a product at the end. Is that pretty much what it is?
That's a great question. Thank you so much for asking. I'm so excited about the work that you're doing and specifically the population that you're serving. It's so important. And so thank you for taking that on. It sounds really, really great. There's a couple of different things that I would mention with respect to that. So human-centered design can be used to create a variety of different things, a product, a service, a program, really anything. So a product might be one of those, but it isn't always the thing that comes out of it. Other folks have used them to design like a platform, a website, a process for their organization, all kinds of different things. So that's one. The second thing that I would mention is that the lab itself, what will come out of the lab is your team's concept for how to solve the challenge that you've identified. And similarly, your concept might be a product, but it might be a service or a program or something else. It depends on what you all learn for the issue that you're trying to address. The last thing I would mention, and you didn't specifically ask about this, but I do just want to highlight it because we had folks in the last year who were sort of working on a human-centered design project outside of the lab. And so we did remind them, coming into the lab, we're really asking you because you're coming in with a team, right? And you're coming in for this 5-day sprint period to identify a problem that you're willing to work on or a challenge that you want to work on for which you are not wedded to a solution already. Part of what you will do on the first couple of days, really on Sunday, the 16th, is spend a significant amount of time with your team mapping and understanding the problem and then sketching a wide variety of solutions to that problem. So we just want to make sure that folks are clear and okay with if they're coming in with some familiarity with HCD or an idea for a challenge, that they're still willing to explore other options. So Alexis, let me know if that's
Oh,
helpful and if
absolutely.
that answered your question. I know it was a bit more than what you asked, but I think all of those points
No,
might
no,
be
no, it's
relevant.
fine. No, it's fine because I mean, I think that what I wanted to get from doing this will be the flexibility to kind of start thinking about things outside of the box, even as it relates to my own work, but just being able to like come up with something um for this challenge will be useful for me just in my everyday work and just trying to think outside of the box of what we always do. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And we'll certainly talk about other examples within the field of public health. I'm happy to talk about, my use of HCD for quite a long time in this field, if that would be helpful to you in your work more broadly as well. So I hope you'll join us. It sounds like it would be a good fit. Any other questions from folks? I know some people joined us a little bit later. That's totally okay. But if you have any questions, if you want to drop them in the chat or come off mute, all questions are welcome.
Sarah, I saw a question asking how much time they might need to dedicate to this outside of the actual session.
Yeah, it's a great question, and there's a couple of things to consider. So the sessions themselves, as I mentioned, the timing of those is on the website. And Tracy, if you wouldn't mind actually also just dropping that into the chat for folks, that would be great. It is a full day on Sunday the 16th, and then partial days, really couple of hour blocks on Monday through Friday. Um, we do recommend that teams have some other time available on those days, Monday through Thursday, essentially, to do some work on their challenge and on the work that they're doing as a team, because that will only strengthen what you all are doing for your both your solution and your pitch on Friday. However, we recognize that folks have very full and complete lives, that all of you are students, and that many of you are still in classes or perhaps working a job or doing other things throughout that week as well. So the event is structured such that you can sort of complete the sessions themselves as the time. And if you didn't do anything else that week, you could still successfully get to the pitch on Friday. The one thing you would need to have time for is recruiting your end users for the user testing. The user testing takes place on Tuesday during the session, but you need to reach out and find folks to come to that. And we'll talk about that on Sunday at the lab as well. So I hope that's helpful. The answer is sort of it depends, because it's really about kind of how much time you and your team both have and want to commit outside of the sessions. And you can be successful without doing any of that, or you can do more if you'd like to. Absolutely. Yeah, great questions. What other questions do folks have about the lab, about human-centered design, anything that's coming up for anyone? Thanks so much, Jody. We appreciate that a lot. I'm going to give folks just another 20 seconds or so. If anyone has any other questions that are coming up, feel free to ask.
If you think of something after this meeting and you want to reach out, I will drop the email in the chat where you can send questions as well.
Absolutely. Great. Well, as Tracy mentioned, if anything else comes to mind, we are available. Please email Tracy and email the email address dropped in the chat with any questions. We'll get back to you quickly. Otherwise, start identifying your team, get your 3 folks together and start working on your applications. We really hope you'll join us, and we're excited to welcome folks to the Innovation Lab for 2025.
When
Thanks
does
so
the
much,
application
everyone.
due? I'm sorry.
No, please.
When does the application due?
I believe January 31st. Tracy, can you confirm that?
I think we pushed it back to the Sunday night, the February, that right after that, February 4th, I think it is.
Okay.
Great. We gave you a bit of extra time. Awesome.
Thanks.
Any other questions? And all of the information is on that website that's there as well. Great. Well, I just want to thank everyone for coming, and thank those of you who are watching after the interest meeting. We appreciate you catching up on all of this. Let us know if you have any questions, and we hope to receive your application soon. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.